I moved to Bend after I graduated from high school in 1994. And then I've pretty much lived in Bend since 1994. And I think I'll always feel like I'm Oregonian and that this is where I come from. And our crew was Marcus Egge, that's for sure. We all, Jason McAlister and myself, moved into Marcus Egge's house, and we're like exactly the same program. You know, we all had sponsors, different sponsors, but working with the same film companies and talking about the same contracts and snowfall, and you know, it was like our household was just snowboarding.
Marcus Egge also was a coach up there, and that fall he decided to buy a house, and it just worked out for me and Josh and Marcus to move in together. And yeah, we spent 3 or 4 years living together, and it was kind of the launching point for my career in professional snowboarding. Josh was kind of ahead of me, as well as Marcus, as far as being sponsored and getting in magazines and doing contests and filming. And by living with those guys, we were snowboarding together every single day here at Mount Bachelor, and then they started dragging me along on some of their traveling and kind of brought me into the fold and kind of launched my career with those guys' help, for sure.
Josh doesn't talk unless it's about like candy.
It was pretty rad. We were all doing the same thing and traveling around together, and then as time progressed, someone's working with a different project and someone's working with a different project, but for a while there we were like all together, just rolling. Jason and I would get like an egg sandwich, a bagel sandwich, and then we would have to make a stop at the convenience store for Dirksen to get his like Little Debbie's donuts, because he's a sweet tooth dude. And so funny, I'm like, you're gonna run out of gas, man, but he never did. He just had like Skittles in his pocket and things like that. And the dude's healthy, but man, we needed fuel because we were going all day, every day, all day. So we knew all the lines, and we would go there, and then kids started following us around because they knew that we knew the lines. So we would say west boundary jump, and McAlister lost this one. So he'd have to go like kind of work the jump up a little bit, not take off, but like make it proper, and then not hit it. And then Dirksen and I would float off of it, but it was set right, you know, because a lot of those times if they're not set right, it's not gonna be a kicker. But that's the cool thing about Bachelor too, is there's endless little hits everywhere. It's like a little skate park, and the wind helps that a lot.
Not a man of many words. He sort of lets his writing speak for him.
There was all kinds of great snowboarders here at Bachelor. We would drive up to Mount Hood in the summer and snowboard on the glacier, typical camp out wherever we could before we get kicked out. And then when camps were closed, we would hike up, poach pipes, you know, hit the one jump that was there at the time. And I think it was one of those years after that I first saw this little kid that was extremely talented that didn't talk, and that was Josh. And I didn't figure that out till years later. That year, next year, something like that, there was a couple kids from Eugene that were in high school that came over to snowboard on the weekends, and that was Josh Dirksen and Jason McAlister. And getting to know them and seeing how well they rode, I figured out that was that kid, right? That young, super talented kid from years ago, and that was Dirksen. I don't know what it is about Eugene, if there's like residual like THC in the water there or what, but just the silkiest smooth style, right? It's like Josh, Allister Schultz, Chad Cooksey, those guys, they did stuff on so much smoother and more stylish than you could ever dream of, that you just like couldn't stop looking at it. Like, I wish I could fall with the grace that Josh does, right?
I think what's cool about me and Josh and why we kind of had this kind of instant connection is that we were brought under the same wing of this guy Chad Cooksey, who was the best rider. He was like the smoothest snowboarder, skateboarder, like anyone had ever seen. He was just so smooth, and I believe that me and Josh talk about all the time. It's like, style, we both got some style from him, emulating him. And, it's like, I think that you're kind of born with your style. I think you can kind of tweak it a little bit as you go along. I think more people are just born with your style. You're either going to be heavy-footed or you're going to be light-footed. But I think you pick up things from people that, when you're younger, that have an impact on you, and you ride with them all the time. And me and Josh rode with Chad all the time. He was the one that took us up to Willamette, and we rode with him in Willamette. So we kind of both had that same smooth style that Chad had, and he was like the king of it, just this effortless style. Josh moved there a couple years after I did. And so I already had kind of a crew that I was riding with. It was like called the West Side Cartel, and there was like a bunch of us that I'm still friends with these guys. And Josh came with Jason McAlister, and then he hooked up with Marcus Egge, and they kind of had their crew. So we kind of had these separate crews, but we always rode together. We'd see those guys every day, and their crew, our crew, and we'd all ride together. And man, you could always pick out Josh when he was coming down the hill. He just had that cool looking style, and it was kind of cool because we were doing different things, taking different avenues in the sport, but on the same trajectory. And then we'd come home and see each other and ride at home together. And back then it was cool because it was magazines, so that was the big thing, which I think kids today really miss out on. It's like the magazines were the biggest thing. It was like you'd see everyone and be like, oh, nice shot in the new Transworld, or nice shot in this new Snowboarder. That was it. That's what you were trying to get, and nothing else really. I mean, your video parts matter, but it was almost the glory was in the magazine shots. Like, you got the shot in the magazine that everyone looked at, and then everyone had it, when the issue came out. And so that was always fun to see, Josh in the magazines, and Marcus and Jason, that everyone in the magazines, and get to talk about it on the chairlift or something like that.